Hi, all. Welcome to the third week of Digital Office Hours. So, on this week's agenda, we're going to cover one frequently asked question, which is your scores in live text versus in the gradebook. Maybe you've seen a discrepancy with that. I'll explain it to you. The second idea that we're going to talk about is looking at social networking. If you haven't really started on this assignment, maybe giving you some other alternatives. Then we're going to look at tips on your Flipgrid responses. Some of you are already responding, nice job, but some of you may need some tips on how to finish that project. And then finally, looking at some tool options for your final projects, kind of jumping ahead to next week. So this week's most frequently asked question was, why does it look like I have two different scores for my live text assignment for my infographic? So just to kind of clarify a little bit of information. The rubric that your professors used on live text had three columns. Basically, you were advanced, you were in the middle, or you were below expectations. And so while that is what live text allows you to use, your professors were actually looking at kind of a 4-area rubric. And so maybe your professors took off a few points here and there, but on the 3-tiered response, you would be still in that advanced section. So in live text, if you looked at the rubric, it may look like you got a 100%. So check your grades in Canvas, and that's going to be your true grade. It's probably the lower of the two. So just a heads up, you may want to check your grades and make sure that that's what you were expecting. So that was this week's most frequently asked question. So looking at our assignment for this week, you're looking for places to grow professionally online. Some options that maybe you haven't thought about. Twitter chats are one of my favorite ways to collect information and get feedback from people. And there's lots of lists online as to where you can go to look for a Twitter chat. There's Facebook groups that are amazing. One of my favorites is Future Ready Librarians. Great Facebook group to be a part of. If you haven't heard of it, you need to join. And then finally, I love looking at Instagram and following people that I'm inspired by, commenting and interacting with them. I'm a visual person and I love to gather ideas. And so Instagram allows me to follow people who are inspirational and then interact with them by commenting on their pictures and asking them different questions. And a lot of times they'll respond as well. So that is 3 places that I think that maybe you want to try and kind of figure out. There's some great people that post some things on Instagram from the Omaha metro area. So you might want to take a look and kind of see what exactly is out there and stretch yourself a little bit. So this week's assignment was to find a professional learning community, interact with that community by asking a question, commenting on a post, looking for material, or even posting your own material and seeing what kind of feedback you get back. And then you're going to create a Flipgrid response as a reflection. Now, part of your reflection is going to be reflecting on your experience. You also want to make sure that you're conducting yourself professionally. You want to dress professionally. You want to make sure that your backdrop is pretty professional. And you want to make sure that you're answering your questions in really robust ways. So that being said, you may want to create some sort of script to answer these questions, prop it up on your screen, and then try to answer them. So here's some of the questions you need to make sure that you cover. Describe the network and how you contributed to the group. Be specific. What exactly did you do to promote that group and join? Next up, what are the differences between person-to-person conversations and online? What are the strengths and maybe the weaknesses of that? Explain how the community professionally supports one another. Life is tough, and how do we help one another? Teaching is really rough. How are we helping each other, maybe with resources, ideas? So that's what we kind of want you to look at. And then finally, the last question you need to make sure you answer is, will you continue to participate? And if so, why? What kind of feedback did you get? How do you think that this group is going to help you in the future? So once you actually find your network that you want to, be encouraged and supported by, you're going to create your Flipgrid. Couple of tips that I got from Holly Clark. Number 1, you need eye contact. A lot of times we take a look at the screen, we look down, we look to the side, look at that big green button that's glowing right in front of you and make some good eye contact. You want to limit your movements, which I'm really bad at, but especially like moving forward and moving back can be really disorienting, kind of give you that Blair Witch feel. So make sure that you're limiting your movements. Try to avoid filler language like like, and so. For this assignment, you only have 5 minutes to record. You need to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. Practice. I know some people think you need to practice, practice, practice. What Flipgrid allows you to do is try it, record it, and if you don't like it, you can watch the playback and go, ooh, that was awful. And then you can delete it and start over, and very simply and easily. And it even is kind of, encouraging. It's like, oops, let's try again. So make sure that you practice. And by practicing, that means recording it, trying it, deleting it, recording another. It's really nice because, at least for me, I am always really, really good in the practice run if I'm not recording. And then when I try it, I'm not so great. So I would recommend recording your practices. So if you get one that felt perfect, it's there. You want to make sure you have fun, give an example, give an analogy, give a metaphor, a simile, something that's going to connect with your audience, and then keep it short and simple. The final tip that I would have for you is, once you post, go back and watch your video, and not only watch your video, watch everyone else's. The beauty of this assignment is that it is social in nature. So not only are you going to walk away with one social network, you're going to walk away with maybe 10 or 15 social networks that maybe you want to be a part of. So I would highly recommend going and watching your classmates' responses, writing down a few that you're really interested in, and maybe joining those communities as well. So last week we talked about digital ethics. This week we're talking about digital interactions. And while it may seem that they're very, very different, digital ethics is the foundation for which digital interactions can blossom. So think about it like this. Just like with relationships or friendships, everything is built on this community of trust. And so once you have those digital ethics, you have those rules and regulations and the foundation of trust, that is where your digital interactions can blossom and grow. So keep in mind that that's how our concepts for week 3, last week's digital ethics, to this week's digital interactions. So that being said, let's take a look at what we're going to be working on for our next class, because you do have a final project. So here are a few steps to help you out with your final project. The first step you want to do is fill out your weekly note-taking guide to review the major themes for each week. So that includes, the first week was digital literacy, the second week was digital law and cybersecurity. The third week was digital ethics. And then next week will be digital interaction. If you can't find your note-taking guide, if you scan this with your phone, it'll pop up with a copy for you that you can print if you want to, or you can just fill it out yourself by making a copy. So first, you want to make sure that you review, what exactly did we talk about? What were the big rocks that we need to make sure that we include? The next step is to write a script that explains the digital citizenship policies, practices, and curriculum for your district, school, or class. Most of the footwork on this has probably already been done. For one of the assignments, you had to look up the policies and procedures. The only thing that you may need to stretch yourself and find is a curriculum that your district maybe has. You want to remember that your intended audience are parents, therefore you need to break down the big ideas into pieces that anyone can explain. Remember, you're explaining this to people whose job is not to understand COPA or SIPA. You need to figure out, how are you going to break it down so that it makes sense to parents? Now, while this writing of the script is not necessary, it will make your life easier. Just like with Flipgrid, where you could record yourself over and over and over again, if you don't have a script or something to kind of not necessarily hold on to, but act as a reference while you're working on your video, it may feel very disjointed. So while the script isn't something you're going to turn in, it is something that will act as a guide to help you out with your video. So keep that in mind. It's not something you have to do. It's just a recommendation for me. Finally, step 3, you want to cite all of your sources that are not copyright free. This includes any images you use. You want to include any place that you found your policies or your procedures, any tool that you use to create your video. These should all be listed in your sources at the very end of your video. And then finally, step 4 is going to be to use your script and create your video. You're going to turn in your video on Canvas, not your script. So keep that in mind, that the video is what you're going to be turned in and that you're going to be graded on. So what tools can you use? Well, these are 5 of the tools that I would highly recommend. I think they're all really great in their own way. You need to make sure that you remember that your audience is your parents. So you need to keep that in mind. Some of the tools that you see are very, very kiddish. You want to make sure that your parents would feel comfortable watching this and getting really good content from it. So if you scan this right here, it's actually going to pop up and show you the different tools as the links. Here are some of the ones I would recommend. If you have a Mac product, iMovie is amazing. You can download it on your phone, on your iPad, or it may already be on your Mac. Adobe Spark is very easy. If you're nervous about this assignment and you just need a simple, easy creation tool, Adobe Spark is amazing. I would highly recommend it. It's a drag and drop feature. So you can drag a video, a text, a photo, whatever you should find, and place it in the video, and then it runs seamlessly. It adds the transitions for you, and then you can do a voiceover to actually do the talking. So remember, don't make it too text heavy. If anything, do a voiceover to explain your ideas. Animaker is kind of a fun new tool that I played around with. You might want to check out Animaker. It's kind of more of a cartoon feel. We've got Biteable and then also WeVideo as well. So there are tons of video creation tools out there. These are just a few that I've played around with and they seem pretty fun. The one thing I would recommend for you is if it ever feels like you are trying to fit a circle into a circle into like a square hole, just scrap the tool and try something different. Remember, this final project should be a reflection of what you've learned, not your frustration with the tool. So if it ever feels like you're struggling with a tool, find something new, try something new. Scrap the tool and try it. Try it in a different way. And that's the beauty of creating the script, is you can take that script and make it anywhere that you would like. So those are just a few of the video tool ideas that I have for you. If you have others to add to this list, shoot me an email and I would be excited to try some new tools as well. So finally, reminders, Flipgrid Reflections due Sunday at 8 a.m. I would highly recommend going on there and seeing if anybody responded to your Flipgrid if you posted it earlier than Sunday at 8 a.m. And then just a reminder, next week's office hours will be on Tuesday, not Wednesday. The reason being is that your final assignment is due, I believe, on Thursday. And if we had office hours on Wednesday, you'd only have a couple hours turnaround if there was more information or if you learned something new. So we are actually pushing office hours to Tuesday instead of Wednesday, and I'll be coming from you live from Philly because I will be at ISTE. So just a reminder, Tuesday, not Wednesday, and if you have any questions, let me know. We'll use the same link for next week, so if you want to join live, I would appreciate it. Hope you guys are having a great week. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. Good luck with your assignments.